Hi everybody, it's Jim from County Corvette. I have a 1963 fuelie convertible. This is an original engine fuelie. Now you probably see a lot of them out there, fuelie advertised. You're not going to find probably a handful coupes or convertible fuelies on the market, private or advertised, that have authentication on that. So what that means is the senior Bloomington judge, Al Grenning, has a business. He authenticates through forensic analysis whether it's an actual original engine to that car. To have that on this car, it makes it one of the few really known cars out there that have original engines. The other thing about this car is we did advertise it, and I didn't know the history since it was restored. And it was restored about 20 years ago. And I'll get into the benefit of that. But it was out in California. A guy bought it, had been at a shop, and the shop had some problems. He bought the car and then finished it and had the work done elsewhere. So we knew that. I thought it was a California car. Then I got the NCRS documentation on it that shows the original dealer in New Mexico. Well, don't you know that the son of the original owner contacted us, and it's a 99.999% certainty that it's his dad's car. And he had pictures of it, and he remembered his dad had driven about 2 hours to go pick this car up back in 1963 when it was new. So it's just a really cool, really cool story. So I don't know who the ownership from 70s up until the mid 80s. So there was an owner in there at some point. I don't know who that is, but I have all the other ownership. And that's all we really need, because we know it's, it matches the NCRS delivery data. So enough about that. The car's got great provenance. It's an original transmission as well, chassis, and date coded. They don't have the VIN number on the on the differential, but it appears to be the original to me based on the date code, and that's a CD code 370 posi. So a lot about the car in general. This car was done 20 years ago. Now, a lot of times people will say, "Oh, I want a car that's freshly done." Yeah, that's good if it was done right. But the only way we really know if a car was done right is if I've seen the process. It's what we do here, and it's a long, involved and expensive process to do fiberglass cars correctly. The other way is to look at it and see how it's held up. This car's held up incredibly. It looks like a one-year-old paint job, if that. I could pass this off with, I could do a little quick polish on it and say it's freshly done. There's no chips, scratches, and it's not shrunk all over the place. It was really well done. I mean, extraordinarily well done. It's an original front on the car. The fiberglass is just beautiful on it. It's all date-coated glass. A lot of the interior is original. These are original dash pads. I believe they're reproduction seat covers and door panels, but the rest of it's done. The gauge cluster was done. This was a true body-off restoration. The chassis was done. It still looks great. It has some, dust and dirt and some other stuff from driving it. But I've driven this car quite a bit, actually. I got this car and actually I drove it because open top fuelies are it doesn't get much better. So with all that said, this car's got great provenance. It's a great restoration. The asking price alone is considerably less than what it would cost to restore this car if it were in really nice shape to start with. So say you found this car in the condition it was. A restoration like this in our shop is $140, $160, in that range. So everything was properly rebuilt, this engine, trans, everything is, runs and works as it should. So the restoration value alone is a tremendous value. So this is the way you buy it. And again, with the Grenning certification, with that engine stamp and trim tag. The trim tag's been authenticated too. So I mean, it's a real red car with a real, fuelie engine. This car is going to go up in value regardless. I mean, this is just as good as a 63 gets if you want a convertible. Some will argue that a coupe is better. It's got the split window and all that, but this is an iconic year, and it's just a great open top car. So with all that said, we'll take it out for a ride, and I'm not afraid to drive this car. It's got radial tires on it, and it behaves beautifully. It stops straight, it runs great, just no issues with it. So with regard to the authentication, as I said, the engine stamp has been authenticated, as has been the trim tag. But there's a lot of other highly authentic and very expensive components on this car. The fuel injection unit is the main thing, but the distributor, the radiator, the surge tank, these are all correct pieces on it. So this car could actually be shown in service. It's going to get a big deduction for paint. It's too shiny. It's base coat, clear coat. But all the big stuff is here. And if you wanted to dull the door jambs and these edges down, that's what the NCRS likes. It'll get closer, better scores for that as well. The alternator's correct. This is 63 only. They had these snubbers in here. They had some problems with the hoods vibrating open, and then that was their solution to it. So 63s are one-off cars. There's a lot of really unique things about these cars, and this car just has a lot of original integrity to it. So when you're comparing, you won't find anything comparable to this car. Keep that in mind. So let's go for a ride. Okay, now normally I'll put convertible top and windows up and all that, but it's such a nice day today. You're gonna have to put up with the wind noise because it's just too nice out. Well, I started out in third gear. These things have a lot of torque when they're set up right. With that kind of gearing, the 370 gearing, it should be able to start out. I didn't even have my foot on the gas, but they're torquey engines. This car tracks really nice. With the radial tires, it's actually pretty well behaved. Nice and smooth. Now we're not even warmed up yet, so I'm going to be gentle with this thing. But this is a perfect day for a perfect car like this. The brakes are nice and firm on this car. It doesn't pull. The front end's tight. Everything was properly restored and rebuilt on this entire chassis. I just can't emphasize enough the cost of that type of work. It gets trivialized by people, and you think, well, I'll just buy a car that needs a little TLC, until you find out TLC stands for tons of labor and currency, and you start to hate the car. Why would you buy that? I mean, here's a car that's done, and it's got all the authentication, owner history. It's impossible to shop. The thing about these though is that's all I need to do. Now this thing cruises at 70 miles an hour, right under 3,000 RPM, and it just feels nice. Again, with radial tires and a properly restored chassis, it's a real pleasure to drive. You don't need power brakes, you don't need power steering. You know, if you want to track the car, you're gonna want to think about disc brakes, but I don't want to sell it to somebody who wants to track it. I want it to go to somebody who is just going to drive it nice and take care of it. As I said earlier, you know, a car like this is going to retain and go up in value. It's simply because they didn't make a lot of these fuelies. They didn't make a lot in red. And I can tell you, there's not a lot of them left, you know, in existence with this kind of pedigree. So, you know, it's a collectible car. But it's also a car you can enjoy. You know, we're in the $120,000 range on this car, and there's a lot of lesser cars out there in that price range. You'll never go wrong with a fuelie 63 with authenticity. You can't go wrong. This thing idles perfectly. Just really nice. Now the thing about these high compression cars, you gotta let them warm up whenever you start them up, or you're going to have fouled spark plugs. That's something I try to do. It's kind of a hassle when I'm moving cars around in the shop, in the showroom area, but you have to. You know, you start doing that, starting it up for your friends in your garage. Oh man, listen to this thing run. You're putting plugs in it, so if you're going to do that, get proficient in changing the plugs out, because you're going to do it often. But if you don't want to change the plugs, go drive the car. Hey, thanks for watching my video. Give us a call on this car if you have any questions. We'll be happy to talk to you. Thanks for watching.